Hey, welcome to Beauty in the Breakup podcast. And I have a wonderful guest with me today, Pam Houghteling. Hi, Pam. So
Hi
happy to have you.
there. I'm so
Yeah.
happy to be here.
So, um, so you have a couple of kids
Mhm.
and you were married for how long?
Wow. Well, we were together 20 years. We were actually married even longer than that. Because even when we kind of broke up, we were still married. We never actually got divorced.
Oh,
So,
really? Oh, that's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
How did that work? How did that come about?
Well, so we were together, we were married 16 years. Like in terms of actually like living together and being married. And
Hmm.
we had been together for at least 3 years. Like we were living together for 3 years before that and dating for 3 years before that. So, um,
Hmm.
not doing the math right now, but we were together a really long time. And Warren and I, like, we were just really good friends. Like,
Hmm.
we talked about everything and we kind of got together in what I'd call challenging times. We were both having post-traumatic stress for very traumatic things that had happened in our lives, and we really like bonded over being there for each other and helping each other through hard times. And I can remember he had a therapist, I had a therapist, and I can remember my therapist saying, "You guys need to like actually just like go do something fun, not just be processing all your crap with each other."
That's great advice.
Yeah. Which we did, but it was like, so we were able to, we had like great communication and shared interests and, just really enjoyed each other and enjoyed each other's company. And we got
Mhm.
married and that continued on. Like we had
Mhm.
kids and we were parenting together and all this stuff. And what I think is really unusual about us is there was nothing wrong that we chose to not be married anymore, and
Mhm.
or not live together or whatever, like to just change what we were to each other. Because so often it's things aren't working and people are mad, and there's a lot
Mhm.
of kind of destruction going on
Mhm.
in a
Mhm.
lot of ways. And for us, it was more, like I described, our relationship was based on being there for each other in crisis. That's how we started.
Mhm.
And when there was no crisis, like I became someone who was really happy and content with my life and everything was working. And, so what are we together when there's
Mhm.
not a problem to help each other with? And
Mhm.
and we found our way through that, and then so there was all these different things that would shift and all. But I use the access consciousness tools, and one of those things is just keep asking questions. And um actually, I was, out at a class and was asking, like, what's going to create greatest for us? And we'd have these, what we called state of the marriage conversations, which is like, how's it going? And what do we want our lives to be? And, what's working and what's not? What would we like to change? And we'd make those adjustments. And, I came back from this class and I was asking questions. And the first time it was like lighter not to be married. And he looked at it, he's like, yeah, I get that. And we just were willing to, we were always willing to have things change and to be there for each other in whatever that change was going to be.
Mhm.
And for many, many years, that change was still living together, creating, you know, life together that way. And then we were like, it's time to do it different. And so we continued to create our lives together. We just weren't married, weren't living in the, well, we were technically married, but we weren't living in
Mhm.
the same house, and we were, going about things in a different way. But then we were parenting together, and making those choices. So I always looked at it as We were always a family. We just shifted what that family was and what it looked like and how it functioned. And then we continued doing that. Like every year it was, as school would start, it's like, okay, where are the kids at? What do they need? Well, they seemed to need me more. So they'd live with me more. They needed him more. They'd live with him more. One time it was like Lily was more with me and Ben was more with Warren.
Hmm.
We just shift whatever they were needing and what worked and how our lives were shaping up and that kind of thing.
Wow. That sounds amazing. I mean, wouldn't it be great if more people could do that and go with the flow of what the kids require and be there for whatever that is.
Yeah. Well,
Wow.
what I really, what I was proud of us because
I'm
we
proud
didn't
of you
have to
too.
make each other wrong to change something, right?
Hmm.
It wasn't, it, because we shocked everyone because there was nothing wrong with our relationship. It was, we'd both changed so much. And what we were looking for to have our lives be like was very different.
Hmm.
And we're just like, that's okay. We can shift and change what we are with each other. And we actually had a conversation, we chose this in like 5 minutes. Okay, let's do it different. And then it was how do we actually institute that? Like what do we actually do? And we talked a lot about how do we not make each other wrong because everyone's going to be looking for what happened.
Hmm.
You guys seemed so good together. What went wrong?
Hmm.
And most people, the idea that there's nothing wrong and you change it anyway is not how most people would look at relationships. And, to us, being in relationship, living with each other was a choice we made every day. Yes, we were married, but we weren't creating our lives together because we got a marriage certificate. We were
Hmm.
creating our lives together because we chose it every day.
Hmm.
And then we chose to change it. And that worked for us, but we knew it really confused other people.
It's so true. Like it probably your neighbors and your friends, it causes other people to look at their own relationships,
Yeah.
and oftentimes they're like worried that it's going to bring up something for them that they need
Yeah.
to change something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it highlights things for people. And our culture is one that you don't just get divorced because you know, there's nothing wrong. So, and
So
we're
did he end up creating something different with his life? Like, did he date other people, or expand in a way that couldn't have happened if you were together?
Yeah, I would say yes. Because his mother was a very strong personality and very like, you know, things go her way.
Mm.
I'm someone who absolutely knows what I'm here to do and create and just go. And so, and Warren wasn't so sure. And so it
Mm.
was really easy for him to go along with what I was like, my
Mm.
ideas. And
Mhm.
to me, when we actually separated, then he got to start choosing without regard to anybody. Um,
Mm.
in fact, there was one point where I was like, okay, what if you can actually do just anything? Like, I don't even worry about supporting me and the kids. Like, what would you actually like to create and do? And he tried different things and he found what is I mean, I haven't said this yet, but he actually died about 4 years after we had made this change.
Mhm.
And especially, I'd say the last 6 months of that, he was the happiest I'd ever seen him. Like he had
Mm.
really found who he was in the world in a very different way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. What a gift.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And for you also, in what you've been able to create, um, do you Like, do you ever regret your choice or are you grateful for the choices?
No, I never regret the choice. It's more like I miss him, and but that's more from him dying than like,
Hmm.
I think if we had just been, you know, done the breakup part, that because we were still very much part of each other's lives.
Hmm.
But there's especially times where my kids are going through big transitions, and it's the kind of thing, that he was like really good at or would have really loved being there for, like,
Mm.
and I mean, this is going to seem silly, but so my son had adopted a dog,
Hmm.
and he found that for him, it like this was too much dog. He needed way too much exercise and way too much interaction and training and stuff. And I
Yeah.
was like, if Warren was alive, this is exactly the kind of dog that Warren would have um, just taken on and trained, and he would have been an incredible dog for our family, right? And so there's times like that where the things that he was so good at or so interested in, it just gets me.
Hmm.
When he first died, like the biggest thing that hit me was now it's all on me. Like every choice about parenting
Wow.
is
Yeah.
just me because we would talk it all over, and we were often on the same page anyway about the parenting choices, but we were you know we were very much willing to look at all kinds of different things, but we'd always have a united front for the kids. Like, this is what we're doing. And so just to not have somebody, his input, and knowing that, yeah, we both get this is the way to go. It's like, God, it's all on me. I'm all alone in this. That was what hit me the hardest.
Mm. Yeah. It's interesting because even though my husband didn't die yet, uh, um, it was all on me. All of
Yeah,
the Yeah, it was all on me. So I know that feeling. And I think for a lot of people, when you split there, it's usually on the mom.
yeah, yeah,
And what kind of tools do you use so that you don't go down the rabbit hole, so that you don't, let the overwhelm build up?
yeah. Well, and I mean, for me, when he died, like that change is the time I most needed the tools in our relationship. Like, it wasn't it wasn't so much about day-to-day life with him. It was him being gone, right?
Yeah.
But what was really clear to me, because when somebody dies like that, like, and he just like dropped dead from a heart attack. There was no
Mm,
warning, there was no nothing. He was just gone. And when first of all, it's incredibly intense amount of change all at once.
yeah.
And um and there's the actual hole that's there in the world, that body and spirit and everything, like, they're not there.
Yeah.
um but then there's also so there's that grief, but then there's all these thoughts and points of view that can add on to it. And so what was really clear to me is the tools I used helped me not have all that add-on. So it was still like massively intense
Hmm.
and grieving. But when I'd start to go down the rabbit, well, first of all, I'd call a friend, and
Hmm.
I'd call a friend who was an access facilitator. I had several of them on call, and just to help me, like, get out of that rabbit hole. Because I'd like suddenly start feeling like I was almost panicking, like, there was so much that had to
Hmm.
be done and changed, and just my own reactions and my kids' reactions and everything. And so a lot of who does this belong to? Because everybody is like, oh my God, he's so young, this is a tragedy, this is, and it's like, yes, all of that's true, but that doesn't help me at all.
Everybody dumping all their anxiety about it into your
Yeah.
world.
Yeah. And really just to stay present with what is. Like what is he was here, now he's not.
Yeah.
And, okay, I need a place for us to live and I need to, like there's all these things.
Mm,
And if I was present with it, then I could actually function really well. Also to not judge myself because what's so crazy to me when somebody dies is you can be completely fine and
mm,
grieving,
mm,
right? And to me, that's what I was because there's like with the tools I use, there's nothing that the world can throw at me that I can't be fine and be me and everything. So um, but then there's all that, everybody in there, just the energy of meeting someone in the grocery store and like, oh, how are you?
yeah.
It's like, I think I'm gonna go home now.
I'm terrible. Can you do the grocery shopping for me and bring it to my
Yeah,
house, please? Thank you so
yeah.
much.
But so part of it, like, so be present and also just ride the waves, because
Yeah.
like there'd be the times I was absolutely a mess and the times that I was actually fine and functioning and handling everything and um be willing to receive support from people as
Mm, that's a
well.
big one.
And I know it's a different thing. Like, say, I mean, someone I'm related to had a very nasty breakup, marriage breakup. Actually, two people I'm related to had very nasty, hard, difficult, unexpected marriage endings. Um,
Mhm.
and, it like there's just so many layers of what goes on with that because there's how you feel about the betrayed or angry at what they chose or there's all that stuff that I see them going through plus practical stuff of like okay now what am I going to do about this, what am I going to do about that?
Mhm.
So I think whatever tools you have that work for you, it's doing things that are taking care of yourself, um being willing to have whatever it is that's coming up for you be what's up for you. Doesn't do any good to be like I should be handling this better. No, be a mess for a
Mhm.
while. Because
Yeah,
if you let yourself be a mess, you won't continue being a mess. You'll get tired of it and you'll find something that helps. Um,
that's
and
awesome.
yeah,
Indulge, and you're not wrong.
exactly.
I love that. Yeah, it's interesting. We were just talking last night at a bars trade that I was hosting, and this woman was talking about her weight and how her clothes didn't fit and how she was like doing this diet and she was angry. And I said, you know what? Bodies morph, they gain and lose weight. It's winter. Like, go get yourself, a couple of things that fit and feel good. And like, eat some, cranberry bread, like enjoy. You're alive,
Yeah.
so it is that indulging
Yeah.
in whatever's up right now. So how to how to be kinder to yourself when you're going through whatever it is you're going through allows
Yes.
you to go through it faster.
Exactly. Exactly.
So what about the kids? How did they take the separation part? Mm,
Oh, they were really mad at us for having to go back and forth. Like they hated going back and forth. And what they wanted was for us, where we live, there's a lot of townhouses, and they wanted us to buy a townhouse where the middle of it was theirs.
mm,
We'd each have our parts. So we had two sides, but so that they could just have their own bedroom and living space, and we'd have to come and go. And
mm,
we didn't ever do that. But it was, I mean, just like for anyone else, it was a shock to them because, again, there was nothing wrong.
mhm,
Um, and, but they actually, I don't know, like, I wouldn't say like they adjusted really quickly, but it's like Warren and I were both being so present with each other and with them, and it wasn't, again, there was nothing wrong. There wasn't, acrimony and fighting and making each other, saying things to the kids about each other. There was none of that. We were just like, this is what our family is now. Like now we live in two houses. And I think us just being that,
Hmm.
there, there, it sorted out pretty easily.
Hmm.
Um, but
Yeah, I
they
imagine.
would complain about having to take stuff back and
Yeah,
forth. So
right. I imagine though that, they probably learned a lot about choosing for what works for you
yeah,
in watching you guys do that and how your lives evolved
yeah.
after the fact.
Well, it's interesting because there was a time a few years ago where I had some kind of bad allergic reaction to a medication, and it really affected my like cognitive capacities. And so basically, like, I called my daughter from the doctor's office and said, like I'd forgotten my ID, my money, like I'd driven myself there, but I wasn't making good choices about things. And they talk about that time when I was so not myself, like that's the most stressful time in their lives. And Warren had already died, right? So it was just them and me. And I was not, like my son put it as, you're the most competent person I know. And to see you so not competent was really terrifying. And but so it's like you never know what it is that's gonna so affect somebody. And
Hmm.
I might have thought, oh, the thing that would most affect them was well, maybe when we split up, definitely when Warren died. Um,
Mm.
but like, no, it's me being I was like a 2-year old, like see a bright, shiny thing. Now I'm over
Yeah.
here, now I'm over there.
Like, wait, mom, you're the one who's like our rock
Exactly,
we can
exactly.
depend on.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
and when you ask like how they did with it all, what I'd say is I was that rock when we split up. I was that rock when Warren died.
Mhm.
And then, so for me to not be that rock, for taking a medication, they're like, "Oh."
So interesting. Wow. Um, well, is there anything else that you feel like you could share with the listeners that would help them in, I don't know, navigating what they choose or how to go about it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think of a couple of things. So one is when I met Warren, I was already like someone really happy with myself in my life. So it was about sharing life with him. It wasn't, I have a huge need that he needs to fulfill.
Hmm.
Because like to me, so much that happens with relationships is there's like these ideas of what it should be and how they should be and how you should be and what is a great relationship. And there's like all these expectations. And what we always did was just show up as us. And it happened to be that showing up as us, we liked each other and we wanted to be around each other and we wanted to live in the same house and create, our futures together. And then we didn't. We wanted to still be a big part of each other's lives, but not be together in the same way. And I think that's possible because, he had his own tools and meditative techniques and stuff like that. I was using access consciousness tools. So we each had our own way of dismantling all those expectations about a relationship and what it is. And that allowed us to let it be what worked in the moment and to shift and change. And that's what allowed us to not have to be wrong to make a change. And so what I saw with my two family members who had the nasty divorces was so much of what was hurting them was losing what they thought the relationship was,
Mm,
that it wasn't actually.
mm,
Because they were functioning from the ideal of
mm,
relationship and not looking at what's actually going on here.
mhm,
So that would be my advice is whatever point you're at, whether you're after a breakup or you're just getting involved in a relationship, and is be you no matter what. Don't compromise yourself to be what somebody wants to be with. I mean, yes, you make, to be in a relationship, you're like, oh, well, this works for you, this works for me, let's find what works for us together. But so when I say don't compromise, like, don't cut yourself off, don't stop being you to try to be what you think is going to work with them, and just be really present with what is, and know that you might be people who come together for a while and that creates something, and then be willing to have it change.
cool. Awesome. Wow. I didn't know about all these different things with you, so this was really fun. Thank you.
You're
And
welcome. Thanks for having me on.
yeah, and what else is possible with choosing just because you're choosing not to make somebody else wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks so much, and we'll see you on the next time.